welcome. I'm Peggy, and I hope you can stay with me and my friend for the next half hour. We have a wonderful story to tell about, and it's true. And I also am privileged to know and have come to love this very special lady. Her name is Jean Hunt. Jean, thank you for coming. And Jean is a grandmother, just like I am.
Great-grandmama.
She's a great-grandmother now. And this is, I think, a God thing, because Jean never started out to be an author. She never sat back and dreamed of a career as a writer, but that's what she has. And she has written books for children. And it just happened. She didn't plan it, and it happened out of a set of circumstances that are very traumatic to anyone who has to go through it. And we're going to talk about that and talk about the message that Jean brings to schools, to senior citizens, to churches. She speaks all over and has a message that I think we all should take a deep breath and sit back and listen. Jean, God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
I'm honored to be here.
And she's written a number of books, and the latest one is Treasure Tales and Forest Trails. Now, what age group are these books aimed for?
Well, some grandparents read them to the 4 and 5 years old, but it is a chapter book. And when I speak in schools, we go from kindergarten, where I use the puppets that I have for each character in the book, and that's fun. And then from 1st through 5th grade is about what it is, but they can read it themselves then. But the parents and grandparents seem to get fun out of reading it with them, which I think is important.
Well, she speaks, as I say, to church groups, cancer groups, school children, retirement centers, and every profit dime she makes is donated to the Humane Society. So not only are you a lover of children, but you're a lover of animals as well.
Well, that's true.
And your husband was diagnosed with cancer.
That's true.
And he had to have special treatments in Charleston, at the hospital. So you, in order not to, you couldn't drive back and forth from Greenville to Charleston every day. So you went down on the coast, and you were staying there so that you could come back and forth each day after his treatment with him. And this was a very traumatic and painful situation. And you felt alone. And all of a sudden, this cat appears. Every day, this little cat is there waiting for them to return from the hospital. And that started the story. And that was the beginning of it. And I was having a difficult time. And I did talk to God about it. And we lived in this little cottage that's under the big live oak trees, and it was on the marsh. It wasn't anything grand. It was part of an old plantation years ago. Very quiet. And I was having a hard time with it. And I asked him for help, energy, something. I was wearing thin. And this cat joined our family and changed our lives. And he made us laugh. And he would sit on his wicker sofa on the porch, and we'd drive in, and he'd run down the cottage path and jump on the hood of the car and press his nose against the windshield. Now, if you've ever been on the other side of the windshield and seen how funny that was. And he chose my husband over me. He followed him everywhere. And you have no idea where he came from?
No.
He just was there.
And he brought friends with him. That's the part I got interested in. He brought a raccoon and a squirrel. And we named him the raccoon Randy and the squirrel Wiggles. And all of a sudden, we had our little family. They were fuzzy, but we had a little family with us. And it became an adventure, Peggy, to watch these animals that had to have lived and been born in the forest around us and become friends because they obviously were good friends. They were inseparable. And it was just such fun to watch it and to go to the marsh and sit there in the quietness of the day and see what happened. I've always loved wildlife. We both have. But seeing the blue herons flying over and the seagulls on their way to the beach, and it was just an amazing time in our life. It was like going to a play every night.
It was like a healing time, right?
Well, I had a doctor friend of mine to come by, and she said, she's a cancer surgeon, and she had had a lot to do with where we went and what we did, and she said, I want to see this place where you cured cancer. And she walked around for a good while, and she looked up at the moss in the trees, and she saw the white egrets flying over and all. And she didn't say much. And finally I said, well, what do you think? And she said, this is a spiritual and healing place. I understand now what happened and what you write about. And as you said, I never planned to do that at all. But when I got home for Christmas, and came back, I had a hard time sleeping because I woke up to the noises of nature. And all of a sudden I heard horns and sirens and doors slamming, and I just missed it so much. And it started because I thought, well, what can I do for my husband for Christmas? And I thought, the cat. I will get the cat's picture done. And I called an artist, and she said, oh, she was a portrait artist. She didn't do animals. And I said, well, this is a little boy, but he's got a lot of fur on his face, so I want you to think about doing him. And she said, I'll do him if you come and sit with me while I paint and tell me why he's so important. So I did, and we had a wonderful portrait done, and a happy Christmas when it was a surprise to everybody, and everybody loved it and everybody cried because everybody in my family knew what that cat had meant to us. And when we went back to the coast to finish treatment, she called and said, the artist, I've got a great idea. And I said, well, what is that? And she said, you need to write down what you told me, and I'm going to illustrate it. And I said, I have no idea how to do that. And she said, well, I don't either. And this book is the result of what happened.
Cat Tales and Spooky Trails. These are paperback. They're a wonderful book because the thing I resent about our civilization today, everything is violence and sex. The movie theaters, the television, and our children, even some of the cartoons, if you've taken notice, are violent. And when you have books like this that teach children values while they're having a good time, this is something we desperately need today.
Well, I have tried.
This is the first book, and now you have how many?
We have 4.
4 books, and they're all available, and we'll tell you where. But if you're a parent, a grandparent, or maybe you have some children in your life that you're interested in, take a few minutes, turn off the television, sit down and read to your children. Make that bond. We don't have time anymore to get to know each other. It's sad.
Well, I thought the fun of this, if I could do it, now whether I've succeeded or not, I don't know. But
this first one has the cat sitting in the old-fashioned chair.
And that was taken from an actual photograph that we took. And the little girl appeared at my house one day with her grandmama, and she was so cute. I thought, that's what's missing.
So she's written into the story.
So I wrote her into the story.
And this cat gathers the little animals from the forest, and he teaches them to pray. He teaches them to salute the American flag. And it's all done in a way that children can enter into it.
Well, that's what I wanted for the animals to teach without the children realizing this was a lecture. I wanted them to know they're all different. There's 7 or 8 animals in here, they're all different. They tease each other, they fuss at each other, but at the end of the day, they're best friends. They have recognized that there's something good in each one of them. And I thought that was kind of a lesson that we need to learn about people, and it's the way of the woods, the animals in the woods, and how they interacted with each other, and how they helped each other, and how they loved each other, and how they were all so different. And I kind of want to get that in there, but I also wanted them to have fun reading it. I wanted it to be a sense of humor in there, and Wiggles is a squirrel that kind of does all kind of funny things. And by the way, when we would sit out and drink our coffee under the oak trees every morning, Wiggles and Bogey, the cat, played in the tree above. And I said one day the nuts kept falling from, and a couple of them went my coffee. And I said, you know, Wiggles is getting to be a pretty good shot, isn't he? And we don't know if he was doing it on purpose or just having a good time with us. But the story with Wiggles in it and the funny humor that he brings to it, I want the kids to laugh. And when they throw their heads back and laugh, I love it. And I also love for them to, I love to interact with them and say, there's some morals in here. What would you have done? And it's fun.
There was something where, one of the books where they find a treasure.
Yeah, this is, they find a treasure in this third book. The Labrador, who happens to be my granddog, Tucker, and Tucker is in the book because the boys asked for Tucker to be put in the book.
He's a Labrador. That is your dog.
He's my grandson's dog.
All right.
Tucker finds a ring that ends up to be worth a fortune. It's Blackbeard's ring. And they have to decide what to do. And they're all excited because they're going to buy all this with it. And they all tell.
The ring is worth a lot of money, and the children have to decide what to do.
And they all make plans on who's buying what. Like the squirrels are buying a nut factory, and funny things like that. Randy the raccoon's going to buy a garbage company so he can go through garbage. And they get all excited about it, but then they start thinking about it. And who are they thinking about? And only one of them in the story, Daisy the deer, says he's going to buy land all around, and he's going to plant trees so all the animals will have a place to live. And they begin to realize Daisy's the only one that wasn't thinking about himself. So I think that's kind of fun to discuss that with the kids. What would you have done? And it's interesting to see the outcome after they've discussed all this. Also in the books, Peggy, a little signpost, and they have nature facts and history facts, and it's kind of fun that the teachers like it because it's kind of a learning process.
Okay.
And we have a prayer in each book that I have read to my children for years, and it's blessed with tenderness. And
could you read that, and then we'll go to the break after that. But
okay.
read the prayer that you have used for many
I've
years.
used this for years. Dear Father, hear and bless thy beasts and singing birds, and guard with tenderness small things that have no words. See, that makes me kind of teary, but we've always said that, and the kids nowadays still say, Grandmama's going to read that prayer again before we eat. But I do, I love it. I think I saw it in a veterinarian's office recently. Somebody had needle pointed it, and I was so thrilled they'd hung it.
We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back.